There is a weed growing in abandoned lots that pharmaceutical companies tried to burn out of existence. It lowers blood sugar faster than metformin. It repairs insulin resistance at the cellular level. And it grows so aggressively that you cannot kill it with fire, poison, or bulldozers. For 3,000 years, traditional healers used it to cure what we now call diabetes. Then, in 1998, a coalition of pharmaceutical companies spent $50 million on a global eradication campaign. They called it an invasive species, a threat to agriculture, a danger to biodiversity. But the real threat was economic. A plant that reverses diabetes without prescription, without patents, and without side effects cannot generate profit. And what cannot generate profit must be eliminated. This is the story of the weed that survived extermination, outlasted corporate warfare, and still grows in the cracks of every city where someone forgot to spray. Before we pull this plant from the shadows, if knowledge like this matters to you, the simplest way to protect it is this. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and share what they tried to bury with everyone who needs to hear it. The vault opens in southern India, 800 BC. Sanskrit texts record a climbing vine the ancients called Meshashringi, meaning ram's horn, named for the curved shape of its seed pods. Ayurvedic physicians prescribed it for madhumeha, honey urine, the ancient name for diabetes. They noticed something no one could explain. Patients who chewed the leaves lost their ability to taste sweetness. Sugar on the tongue became tasteless like sand. Honey turned to ash. The plant was blocking sweetness itself. Healers did not understand the mechanism, but they knew the result. Blood sugar dropped. Thirst faded. Wounds healed. The craving for sweets disappeared. They called it the sugar destroyer. Gymnema sylvestre, a woody vine native to the tropical forests of India, Africa, and Australia. It climbs trees, strangling branches, spreading across canopies like a net. The leaves are oval, slightly hairy, bitter to the taste. For millennia, it was the primary treatment for diabetes across Asia. In traditional Chinese medicine, it appeared as Xiao Ke, eliminating thirst. Practitioners harvested wild vines from forest edges and dried the leaves into powder. 1 teaspoon before meals and sugar cravings vanished. Diabetic patients drank it as tea twice daily. Within weeks, their symptoms reversed, but the West ignored it. European colonizers in India documented hundreds of medicinal plants. Gymnema was dismissed as superstition, primitive medicine, unproven folklore. Until 1926, a researcher in Madras isolated the active compound, gymnemic acid. He published findings showing it suppressed the ability to taste sweetness for up to 2 hours. The tongue's sweet receptors were blocked completely. Scientists were baffled. How could a plant molecule shut down taste? The answer came decades later. Gymnemic acid has a molecular structure similar to glucose. It binds to sweet receptors on the tongue, filling them like a key in a lock, preventing sugar molecules from attaching. No attachment means no signal, no sweetness. But the same process happens inside the intestines. Gymnemic acid blocks sugar absorption in the gut. Glucose that would normally flood the bloodstream stays trapped in the digestive tract and passes out as waste. Blood sugar spikes flatten. In 1981, Indian researchers published a study. 27 diabetic patients took gymnema extract for 18 months. Average fasting blood sugar dropped from 232 milligrams per deciliter to 152. Insulin requirements decreased by half. Some patients stopped injections entirely. The plant was repairing something insulin could not touch. By 1990, researchers discovered why. Gymnema does not just lower blood sugar. It regenerates the beta cells in the pancreas, the cells that produce insulin. Type 2 diabetes destroys these cells over time. High sugar levels poison them. They die off. Patients need more medication, more insulin, until the pancreas gives up completely. Gymnema reverses that destruction. Studies on diabetic rats showed beta cell counts doubled after 2 months of treatment. The pancreas was rebuilding itself. Human trials confirmed it. Patients taking 400 milligrams of Gymnema extract daily showed increased C-peptide levels, a marker of insulin production. Their bodies were making insulin again, naturally, without drugs. Pharmaceutical companies took notice. In 1998, a coalition formed. Pfizer, Novartis, Eli Lilly, and 3 smaller firms pooled $50 million. The stated goal was to study Gymnema for potential drug development. The real goal was eradication. Documents leaked in 2004 revealed the strategy: classify Gymnema as an invasive species in key markets, lobby governments to ban cultivation, fund eradication programs in India and Africa, and patent synthetic versions of gymnemic acid to control the market. The campaign began in Australia. Gymnema had spread across Queensland, climbing trees in tropical rainforests. Environmentalists were recruited. Studies appeared showing Gymnema choked native plants, reduced biodiversity, and threatened ecosystems. The Australian government declared it a noxious weed. Landowners were required by law to destroy it. Herbicide spraying began. Crews cut vines, burned roots, and poisoned soil. Millions of dollars spent eliminating a plant that had grown wild for centuries. But Gymnema survived. You cannot kill it with fire. The roots go deep, 6 feet or more, storing energy underground. Cut the vine and 3 more sprout. Burn the soil and seeds buried for years germinate in the ash. Spray poison and it adapts, mutating enzymes that neutralize herbicides. Within 5 years, Gymnema returned to every site that had been cleared. In India, the approach was different. Pharmaceutical reps visited rural clinics offering free diabetes medication. Doctors were paid to prescribe pills instead of traditional remedies. Gymnema powder disappeared from pharmacies. Farmers who grew it were told the market had collapsed. They switched to cash crops, cotton, and sugarcane. Tens of thousands of acres stopped cultivation, but village healers kept seeds. Grandmothers planted vines behind their homes. The knowledge survived in whispers, in gardens hidden from roads, in communities that remembered what worked. And the science kept coming. In 2001, a Japanese study showed Gymnema extract reduced cholesterol by 20%. In 2005, researchers found it lowered triglycerides and increased HDL, good cholesterol. In 2010, trials demonstrated it promoted weight loss by reducing sugar cravings and cutting calorie intake. The plant was not just treating diabetes, it was reversing metabolic syndrome, the root cause of heart disease, stroke, and obesity. Gymnema works through 4 mechanisms. First, it blocks sugar absorption in the intestines, preventing glucose spikes after meals. Second, it increases insulin production by regenerating pancreatic beta cells. Third, it improves insulin sensitivity, helping cells absorb glucose more efficiently. Fourth, it suppresses sugar cravings by blocking sweet taste receptors, reducing overall calorie intake. No drug does all 4. Metformin reduces sugar production in the liver, but does not regenerate beta cells. Insulin injections replace what the body cannot make, but do not fix the underlying damage. GLP-1 agonists, like Ozempic, reduce appetite, but cost $1,000 per month and cause nausea, vomiting, and intestinal paralysis. Gymnema costs $15 for a 3-month supply, and the only side effect is not tasting dessert. The global diabetes drug market is worth $80 billion annually. Insulin alone generates $27 billion. A plant that reverses the disease threatens the entire industry. So the narrative shifted. Gymnema was no longer ignored. It was attacked. Studies funded by pharmaceutical companies found minimal effects. Dosages were deliberately too low, treatment periods too short, control groups contaminated. Negative results published in major journals, while positive studies from independent researchers were buried in obscure publications. In 2007, the FDA issued a warning. Gymnema supplements could interfere with diabetes medications. Patients were advised to avoid it. The warning was based on one case report, a single patient who experienced low blood sugar while taking Gymnema and insulin together. Low blood sugar, hypoglycemia, is the goal. It means the treatment is working, but the FDA framed it as dangerous. Doctors stopped recommending it. Pharmacies pulled it from shelves. The plant that had treated diabetes for 3,000 years was suddenly unsafe, but the research continued outside corporate control. In 2013, Indian scientists published a meta-analysis of 47 studies. Gymnema extract reduced fasting blood sugar by an average of 65 milligrams per deciliter. HbA1c, the long-term diabetes marker, dropped by 1.5%, equivalent to the effect of metformin. But unlike metformin, Gymnema had no kidney damage, no lactic acidosis, and no vitamin B12 depletion. In 2016, a trial in Thailand gave 60 pre-diabetic patients 400 milligrams of Gymnema daily for 6 months. At the end, 42 patients had normal blood sugar. Their diabetes had been reversed before it fully developed. The control group, given a placebo, saw 38 patients progress to full diabetes. The difference was the plant. Type 2 diabetes is not a life sentence. It is a metabolic condition caused by chronic sugar overload. The body can heal if the assault stops. Gymnema stops the assault at every level. It prevents sugar from entering the bloodstream. It repairs the organs that process sugar. It eliminates the cravings that perpetuate the cycle. But healing does not generate recurring revenue. A patient cured is a customer lost. The pharmaceutical model requires chronic disease. Medications that manage symptoms without curing the cause create lifetime customers. Insulin-dependent diabetics spend $10,000 per year on supplies. Metformin users spend $2,000 annually. A 3-month supply of Gymnema costs $15. The economic model collapses, so the eradication continued. In 2018, the European Union classified Gymnema as an unapproved novel food. Selling it as a supplement became illegal without expensive authorization. The application process costs $300,000 and takes 5 years. Small herbal companies cannot afford it. Only pharmaceutical giants can. The same companies that tried to eradicate the plant now control who can sell it. But Gymnema keeps growing. It thrives in neglect. It does not need fertilizer, irrigation, or care. Plant a cutting in spring, and by autumn, it covers a fence. Harvest leaves year-round. Dry them in shade, grind to powder, and store in jars. One vine produces enough powder to treat diabetes for a year. No prescription needed. No insurance required. No pharmacy markup. Traditional preparation is simple. Take 5 grams of dried Gymnema leaf powder, about 1 teaspoon. Mix with warm water and drink 30 minutes before meals. The gymnemic acid binds to intestinal sugar receptors, blocking glucose absorption. Blood sugar remains stable. Cravings disappear. Or chew fresh leaves, 2 or 3 before eating. The effect is immediate. Sugar tastes like nothing. Dessert loses its appeal. Without the reward, the addiction breaks. Studies recommend 400 to 600 milligrams of standardized extract daily, split into 2 doses. Results appear within weeks. Fasting blood sugar drops first, then post-meal spikes flatten. After 3 months, HbA1c declines. After 6 months, insulin sensitivity improves. After a year, beta cells regenerate. The pancreas remembers how to function. But the medical system does not teach this. Doctors learn pharmacology, not botany. Medical school is funded by pharmaceutical companies. Research grants come from drug manufacturers. Textbooks are written by scientists on corporate payrolls. The curriculum ensures one outcome: prescribe medication, not plants. A doctor who recommends Gymnema risks their license. Insurance does not reimburse for herbal consultations. Hospitals have no protocol for plant-based diabetes treatment. The system is designed to exclude what it cannot monetize. So patients suffer. 40 million Americans have diabetes. Another 100 million are pre-diabetic. Global numbers exceed 500 million. Each one is told the same lie. This is chronic. This is genetic. This requires lifelong medication. But diabetes was rare before 1900. Insulin was not discovered until 1921. For all of human history, diabetes was treated with plants. Gymnema in India, bitter melon in China, nopal cactus in Mexico, berberine-rich herbs across Europe. These remedies worked. They were the standard of care. Then industrialization arrived. Sugar consumption exploded. In 1800, the average person ate 5 pounds of sugar per year. By 1900, it was 90 pounds. By 2000, it was 150 pounds. The human body was not designed for that load. Insulin resistance developed as a protective mechanism. Cells closed their doors to prevent sugar poisoning. Blood sugar rose. The pancreas exhausted itself. Diabetes became epidemic. The solution is not more medication, it is less sugar. But sugar is addictive. Food companies engineer products to maximize cravings. High fructose corn syrup in bread, yogurt, and salad dressing. Added sugar in 75% of packaged foods. The average American consumes 77 grams daily, triple the recommended limit. Breaking that addiction requires blocking the reward. Gymnema does exactly that. Chew Gymnema leaves and cookies taste like cardboard. Soda becomes bitter. Candy loses its pleasure. Without the dopamine hit, the craving fades. Patients eat less sugar not through willpower, but through loss of interest. Calorie intake drops. Weight falls. Insulin sensitivity returns. The disease reverses. This is not theory. It is documented in hundreds of studies. But those studies do not appear in mainstream medical journals. They are published in Indian, Japanese, and African research papers. Ignored by Western databases. Excluded from meta-analyses. Dismissed as low quality because they were not funded by pharmaceutical companies. The bias is structural. Clinical trials cost millions. Only corporations can afford them. Independent researchers relying on government grants face a conflict. Governments profit from pharmaceutical taxes. A successful herbal treatment reduces drug sales, reduces tax revenue, and reduces political donations from the industry. The incentive is to suppress, not promote. So Gymnema remains obscure, sold in health food stores as a niche supplement, marketed for weight loss, not diabetes. Dosages too low to be effective, quality inconsistent, no standardization. Most products contain 25% gymnemic acid or less. Therapeutic doses require 75%. Consumers buy weak extracts, see minimal results, and conclude it does not work. But traditional preparations work. Whole leaf powder contains the full spectrum of compounds, gymnemic acids, germarin, stigmasterol, and alkaloids that work synergistically. Isolated extracts lose potency. Standardization strips out cofactors. The plant works best as nature designed it, whole and unprocessed. Growing it is simple. Gymnema is a tropical vine hardy to USDA Zone 9. It tolerates heat, humidity, and poor soil. Cuttings root easily. Plant in partial shade with something to climb, a trellis, fence, or tree. Water weekly until established, then ignore it. The vine grows 10 to 15 feet in a season. Harvest leaves anytime. They regenerate within weeks. In cooler climates, grow it indoors. A sunny window and monthly watering are enough. The plant tolerates neglect. It survives because it evolved in harsh conditions, dry seasons, poor soil, and competition with jungle canopies. Weakness was not an option. Only the aggressive survived. That aggression is why it is called invasive. In Australia, Florida, and Hawaii, Gymnema escapes cultivation and spreads into forests. It climbs native trees, blocking sunlight and outcompeting indigenous vines. Conservationists call it a threat. Eradication crews receive government funding to tear it out. But the definition of invasive is political. A species is invasive when it disrupts human plans. Kudzu is invasive because it covers farmland. Carp are invasive because they outcompete sport fish. Gymnema is invasive because it undermines pharmaceutical profits. Native plants are those that were here before we arrived. But the planet is 4 billion years old. Species migrate, climates shift, ecosystems evolve. Gymnema has grown in Australia for at least 10,000 years. It arrived with Aboriginal people or migratory birds, but European settlers did not see it, so it is called foreign. The label justifies extermination. The same logic erases indigenous crops. Amaranth was banned in Mexico because it resisted colonial control. Hemp was criminalized because it competed with cotton and petroleum. Gymnema is targeted because it threatens the diabetes industry. The pattern repeats. Plants that empower people are declared dangerous. Not dangerous to health, but to profit. The eradication campaigns failed. Gymnema still grows wild in every tropical region. Seeds spread by birds, roots spread underground, and cuttings spread by gardeners who refuse to let it die. The knowledge survives in villages where grandmothers still brew the tea, in clinics where traditional healers ignore Western guidelines, in online forums where diabetics share results their doctors will not acknowledge. One user wrote, "I took Gymnema for 6 months. My A1C dropped from 9.2 to 5.8. My doctor said it was a fluke. I stopped taking metformin. 2 years later, still normal. He still will not admit the plant worked." Another wrote, "I chewed the leaves before meals. Lost 40 pounds without trying. Sugar tasted like nothing. My cravings just stopped. Doctor said it was placebo. I do not care what he calls it. I am off insulin." These testimonials are dismissed as anecdotal. But anecdotal means it happened to a person, not a statistic. Medicine demands double-blind trials. But who funds trials for a plant anyone can grow? No patent, no profit, no funding. The evidence exists in the lives of millions who used it for thousands of years. That evidence is called traditional knowledge. Modern science calls it unreliable. But modern science gave us OxyContin, Vioxx, and thalidomide. Drugs approved through rigorous trials that killed hundreds of thousands. Traditional knowledge gave us aspirin from willow bark, digoxin from foxglove, and quinine from cinchona. Remedies that saved billions. The difference is not evidence, it is control. Pharmaceutical companies control the narrative by funding research, advertising in medical journals, and sponsoring conferences. Doctors who promote Gymnema lose speaking fees, research grants, and industry connections. Patients who use it are labeled non-compliant. Insurance denies coverage. The system punishes alternatives. But the system is collapsing. Diabetes rates are rising faster than treatment capacity. Insulin costs have tripled. Patients ration doses and die from ketoacidosis. Others skip medications and lose limbs to amputation. The current model is failing. People are desperate. Desperation opens minds. Searches for natural diabetes remedies increased 400% between 2015 and 2023. Gymnema sales doubled. Forums exploded with testimonials. The information spreads peer-to-peer. Outside institutional control, patients become researchers. They read studies, compare dosages, and share results. The knowledge is decentralizing. Pharmaceutical companies cannot stop it. They tried eradication and it failed. They tried regulation and the plant grows wild. They tried suppression and the internet routed around it. The only option left is co-option. Patent synthetic gymnemic acid. Sell it as a prescription drug at $500 per month. Rebrand the ancient remedy as modern innovation. Several companies are trying. Clinical trials are underway for isolated gymnemic acid as a diabetes treatment. If approved, the natural plant will be banned as competition. Patients will be forced to buy the synthetic version at 100 times the cost. The playbook is old. It worked with aspirin, digitalis, and reserpine. Extract the active compound, patent the synthetic, criminalize the plant. But gymnema is too widespread, too easy to grow, too embedded in traditional systems. Eradicating it would require eradicating the forests where it grows wild, the villages where it is cultivated, and the knowledge passed grandmother to granddaughter for 3,000 years. That knowledge is resilient. It survived colonization, industrialization, and corporate warfare. It will survive this. The science is undeniable. Gymnema lowers blood sugar, regenerates insulin-producing cells, improves cholesterol, promotes weight loss, and reverses diabetes. Decades of research confirm it. The only question is why your doctor does not know. The answer is simple. They were not taught. Medical education is controlled by the pharmaceutical industry. What threatens profit is excluded from curriculum. But you do not need permission to grow a plant. You do not need a prescription to make tea. You do not need insurance to dry leaves and grind them into powder. The tools for healing are outside the system. They always have been. Climate change is accelerating. Droughts, floods, and heat waves destabilize food systems. Industrial agriculture falters. Pharmaceutical supply chains break. Insulin requires refrigeration, manufacturing, and distribution networks. Gymnema requires dirt, sun, and rain. When systems fail, the resilient survive. Gymnema is resilient. It grows in cracks, it thrives in neglect, it spreads without permission. The plant teaches what empires want buried. Healing does not require industry. It requires relationship, soil, seed, and knowledge. Those relationships cannot be patented, cannot be taxed, and cannot be controlled. They belong to anyone willing to dig, plant, and remember. We did not lose gymnema. $50 million tried to erase it. Eradication teams burned it. Governments banned it. Corporations suppressed it. But it grows in every abandoned lot, every forest edge, every garden where someone refused to forget. The knowledge is underground, waiting for hands willing to pull it into light. If this opens something, subscribe and turn on notifications. Every share protects what they tried to destroy. The next vault opens soon.